Hello, welcome to Yoga for Scattered Minds. So, what I want to do today is give you a little yoga practice. That's what they call it in yoga instead of like a yoga workout. They say a yoga practice because I guess you're practicing how to calm your mind. But some people say, I like my mind. I like it, going in all directions. Some people don't like that. They like their energy. They don't want to calm their energy. You'll still have energy, believe me. But what we're going to do is do this yoga class. Feel free to change up any of the poses from what I'm doing. Like if I'm doing something and you're like, this doesn't really work for me, feel free to do something different. The most important thing is that you're doing something that feels good in your body, that feels relaxing. Maybe it'll be a little strengthening too, depending on what you've done before. But it's going to give you a chance just to get a break from everything else. So it's like while you're on the mat, it's your little vacation. It's like your little retreat. It's an opportunity not only to let go of whatever was happening before you got on your mat, but it's also an opportunity to learn how to notice what's happening in your mind. Because we do notice it sometimes during the day, for sure. But it's a practice for me. That's what it is realizing, oh, my brain's just going off in this direction, noticing that and deciding what to do with it. And usually in a yoga class, what you decide to do is think about your breathing again, think about how your body feels, just relax, or the things that a yoga teacher might say. If it's really important what you're thinking about, that's okay. It's not like you always have to send your thoughts away, but if they're just kind of wasting your time, if it's not getting in the way of something, I always think of like you're walking by some people and you overhear a conversation. When you start to notice that with your own thoughts, then you say, do I want to stay here? Do I want to listen some more? Is this important? Or do I want to just keep walking? Do I want to just kind of go away from that? And obviously we're not going to walk away from our thoughts, but we can kind of send them away. Just kind of, I'm going to do something else right now with my mind. So that's the general idea of recognizing when your mind is kind of swirling about and practicing stepping away from it and realizing that you could do something different with it. And I don't want you to think you don't have great ideas, but a lot of times what we're thinking about is really not helpful or not supportive to ourselves, or might be stressing out our bodies. And so sometimes you can just go, I don't need that right now. Other times I've been in a yoga class where I've had my like an epiphany idea, and I think, oh my goodness, like I wouldn't have even thought of doing that if I wasn't here right now. That's okay too. You might just clear out the clutter enough that something really important comes to your mind and you think, I need to do that. I need to do that. So anyway, that's the general idea. Let's go ahead and start standing. I usually start laying down just to relax, but I'm going to start standing because we've got a little energy. So let's bring your hands together at your heart and bring your arms up and then lower them down and bring them back to your heart. And if you need to be wider with the feet, usually I'm either anywhere from hip width to my feet being closer together. But lifting the arms up and just playing with this range of motion. Inhaling as your arms go out and up. You can even look up and exhaling as they come back together. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And then maybe reach for one wrist and slowly lean to the side. And then come back up and bring your hands to your heart. Inhale, sweep them up again and reach for the other hand or wrist and tilt to the side and breathe with the air. As you breathe in, come back up and exhale, bring your hands together. And as you inhale, open your arms out. And exhale, bring them back in. And just kind of think of your arms as mimicking the lungs, getting wider here. And exhale, bring it back in. And then let's take the toes a little wider and do that instead of the arms going wider with the breath. This is another way to quiet the mind. They kind of call it, well, they do call it, some people have called it meditation in motion. So I call it that. I heard one teacher say that a long time ago when I used to do yoga videos. And so I do that. But you go ahead and you lower down. So that's your exhale. And as you inhale, push into the feet and lift up. This is star pose. And exhale, lower. And your feet can be just whatever's comfortable for your knees. And go low as feels comfortable for your hips here and your knees. Inhaling up. Exhale, lower. arms out, and we'll bend at the elbows. So they call this moonflower. I think of the fingers as like the flower petals. And then slowly go side to side, inhaling as you come up and exhaling as you go over. And you're trying to smooth out this movement. You don't go so fast that momentum's taking over. It's slow and controlled. But they're also fast enough that you're making it through those little sticky points. And you can keep the arms wide, or you can lengthen out in the arms and get into those shoulders a little more. And then slowly come on up and bring the feet in. Shake it out a little bit. I do a lot of shaking it out a little bit. Feet, hands, whatever. And when I realized I had ADHD, I thought, maybe that's why I'm a yoga teacher that's always adding movement in between. I got to get that energy out. Go ahead and bring your hands to your heart, and let's do this again. Sweeping the arms up. You can reach for that wrist again, or you could interlace. Sometimes I interlace the front 3 fingers, pointer finger and thumbs. It's like Charlie's Angels. Going on up. When I was little, if we played Charlie's Angels, that's what we did. Like, stop. And you put your hands together there. Well, they used to have, go ahead and come back up. I know we're supposed to be quiet in your mind, but maybe it'll help you if I'm talking to you. Go ahead and sweep them up. But we used to, they had a commercial. It was like Sabrina, Kelly, and Chris. Or when Farrah Fawcett, I don't remember her name. That was a commercial for Charlie's Angels Barbies. Go ahead and lift up and go the other way. And breathe with it here. And come on up and bring your hands to your heart. And then open the arms out wide. And reach behind. And you can either interlace the fingers and open here, or you could even do reaching for elbows. And opening up here. Feet could be wider if that helps. But open, lift. And then an option to come into a forward fold, hinging at the hips and going to whatever feels okay for you. Lowering down, my feet are a little wider. But feel free to soften the knees if it's not feeling great in your back, or come up a little higher. Breathe slowly here. And then push into the feet and come on up. And release the hands, and whatever I do, one side, I like to do the other side. So if you're reaching back, whatever arm's dominant, you could do that. Or if you're interlaced here, have the other finger in front. So you'll know what your go-to is. Find the other one. And you could even go wider this time with the feet. Heels out as wide as the small toes gives a little more room in that hip joint to come forward. So play with that, whatever width works for you there. Slowly coming forward. And it's not about how far you go forward, it's just finding where you're getting a nice release there. And then once you've found your place in the pose, breathing nice and slowly here, relaxed in the face. And if you tend to keep the forehead up, which I've done before, just let your chin come in a little bit so your neck's relaxed and it's following that gentle curve at the top of the spine. And then come on up and release it. And I didn't really instruct you in breathing, just to kind of get your mind thinking about other things. But generally, breath that they do in yoga classes is Ujjayi breath, or they call it ocean breath. And it's expansive as you breathe in. It's like your throat's going. And that helps all this expand. And then as you exhale, you're pushing that air up like you're fogging up a window with your breath. But you do it with your mouth closed. You could do it with your mouth open if you want to practice it that way. But it's like you're widening here. And then your exhale is... And it is pretty relaxing. You can even do it like at stoplights and things. Once I figured out what to do, after doing videos for years, I couldn't figure it out. Once I realized what I was doing, that expansion in the throat creates expansion here and here and here, instead of a lift. Normally, if we're not widening the throat, it's more of a kind of, if you breathe through your nose, more of a sniffing and a lifting. And this is more expansive. You get more oxygen in there. And then bring it back. So let's go to the front of the mat. And you might already be there. Hands at your heart. And this is a sun salutation. I'll turn this way so you can see it. But you sweep the arms around and up. You may already know this. No worries. But you hinge at the hips and slowly fold forward. And then lift and lengthen. That half lift position and lower forward again. And you can bring your hands to your legs. They might go lower. They could hang long, ragdoll arms. But finding a forward fold that works for you. This is one of the areas that I am bendy. Other areas I'm not as much. But no worries if you're not going as far forward as I am. But you can connect hands if you'd like to legs, ankles. If you do bend as far forward as I do, hands reach the floor. One of my favorites is lifting the feet up a bit and placing my hands under there. It's like a little massage for my feet, a little massage for my hands. But allow yourself to rest with it here. Feeling that expansion in the upper body as you breathe in. Relax a little more as you breathe out. And then soften at the knees and go ahead and come on up to standing. Circle the shoulders back and around a few times. And let's do one more sun salutation. This time we'll make our way to the mat. Inhale, sweep the arms around and up. Exhale, slowly fold forward. Inhale, lift and lengthen. And as you exhale, you can bring your fingertips down, your left foot back, and bring your left knee down. And I usually use props in classes, but I'm going to do it without because you may not have any. So this is just in case you don't have any. If you have some and you know how to use them or you want to use them, feel free. So a lot of people, like me, are comfortable having that back foot flat. And you could come up to your low lunge like this. Could use something for balance. Blocks are nice for balance too, so if you've got furniture nearby. But you're opening here in this left hip flexor. You could breathe with it here, whether the hands are low or coming on up. If you're not comfortable with that back foot flat, you could tuck the toes. It will stretch the toes a lot. Just lifting up here. And again, if you've got knee issues, you've got anything that you need to personalize for yourself, feel free to do something different. And then lower your hands down and tuck the toes in back and step the front foot back. Downward facing dog. The hands are wide on the mat. Oops. Feet are hip width. I looked down at my feet. They weren't hip width. Or just whatever works for you. But usually the mat is kind of like a ruler. It's, you kind of have the feet evenly placed from the sides of the mat. Symmetrical there. Hands wide on the mat. And then go ahead and walk on up to the front of the mat. And we'll do a lift and lengthen, a half lift. And then step back this time with the right leg. Fingers down. Coming into that low lunge. Back foot flat. Show you the toes tucked option. Also a lot of benefits to that. I find it harder to balance. So feel free to do it with that. I'm going to do it this way. But arms lifted. Lifting up at the heart. Taking a few breaths. And then go ahead and lower the hands down and bring that front foot back. Go ahead and add a little movement here. So I found in my years of teaching, when I teach teenage girls, the ones who want to talk a lot, and they're probably having a hard time quieting their minds, and they want to be social, they want to have fun with their friends. Usually when I teach them something more advanced, if I say, don't get on your phones or stop talking, they don't listen to me, like in a big PE class. But if I say, and now we're going to do this, they're like, oh, I want to try to do that. Like they like that challenge. But I don't find that women are I don't know, some women might be, but a lot of times they're just kind of like, I can't do that. So feel free to sit back into child's pose. And my hips go back a lot. Lately I've been doing it more in the air and more swooping there in the upper body, letting that release in the shoulders. But any arm position, any hip position, any knee position that you like, it's like a kneeling forward fold for child's pose. And let yourself just relax with it here. Again, noticing your breathing. Letting go a bit. And then go ahead and come on up. How are we doing on time? It's not going to look. I'll just keep going. But the program that I'm using, I can't really see. And unless I'm at a scheduled time, like I'm teaching class, I don't remember what time I started. I never do. So I'm doing a little side-to-side movement here. And I'm going to let you choose. I like to let people do a little free play. I'm going to let you choose one seated forward fold. And there are a lot of options. One is both legs straight. You could sit up tall, hinge forward, reach in for hands, reach in for feet or hands here, or even using a strap, like a belt or something to connect there. Or you could take your feet wider and go forward that way. Or you could bring your feet in and go forward that way. So feel free to do something that's symmetrical with the legs. It's a forward fold. Also feel free to sit up higher. You could sit on a coffee table if you're just like, this is not very comfortable, to fold forward here. You could be up higher. And I know coffee table sounds high, but that's what works for my son. Because otherwise he's got so much rounding in his low back, he can't go forward. It's just a lot of it's bone structure. So no worries if you're not doing it. I'm actually going to do the wider feet version. But go ahead and come forward. And lower into it, the upper body, the weight of that, helping you with the breath, with gravity. And in these seated forward folds, as you breathe in, there's usually a little lift. Same with standing forward fold. As you exhale, there's a gentle lowering. And after several breaths, you might have room to lift and lengthen, and then go down a little more. Because often when we start out, we found this barrier, and it might be as far as we go that day or that week. But for many, after several breaths, there's room to lift up a bit and walk forward a little more. And it just kind of has to do with, how tight you are in the tissues. Bone structure will stop you at some point, but there's often some give with the soft tissues. So go ahead and let yourself settle in here. A few more breaths with your forward fold. Just give it a little time. And then come on up. And then I'm going to show you one of my favorite twists. So it's on my back, and it really only has room if you have, it only works if you have enough room. So I usually turn this way. I'm going to be laying here. I'll turn this way so you can see. But I'm going to go ahead and lie back and bring my legs in the air. I mean, you could do it with your head on the mat. I've got mine on the floor just so you could see. But the legs are in the air, arms are out wide. And I usually do it with straight legs, but you could bend the knees a little bit if you need to. But the right leg goes to the right, left leg follows, left leg back up, right leg back up. Left leg to the left, right leg follows. One leg up, the other leg follows. And so you're just side to side, going into the twist. With the longer legs, I don't stay there very long. The weight of that leg can pull a little bit at the low back. But after several, if you find, I might want to pause there a little bit, you are welcome to. And that's the way I like to do a yoga class, is to have the freedom to explore. And I want you to have the freedom to explore. It's actually feeling good to stay here a little longer. However it works for you. And I always had a problem saying, if you want to, you can modify. Because modify to me sounds like a less than, like you're not as good at this. Go ahead, keep going with it. I'm coming back up. You may be doing something else. But so I wouldn't say modify. I'd say if you need to do it the way that works for you, that kind of thing, like I said earlier. And then one day I was in a fitness class, and I don't know, they were doing bicep curls or something. And I thought, I can't do it that way because, my right shoulder or whatever it was. And I thought, I have to personalize it. And I thought, that is my favorite word for it. You need to personalize it. You need to personalize it. You're the person that's doing the yoga, not me. so you don't need to do it like me. You don't need to do it like anybody else if we were in a big class together. You need to do it in a way that works for your body. And so that you can come off of the mat feeling better, not worse. Go ahead and finish the second side, wherever you are with that. I'm going to get up. You don't have to get up unless you need to move on to your mat differently. And I'm going to lie back down. And this might seem like, is it doing anything? But it is. So we're going to lie back down and lengthen out the legs. Oh, that is enough right there. So after having the legs bent, or, you know, the legs closer to the upper body, like sitting in a chair, even the difference between standing and laying down, your pelvis is up a little bit. You're opening here at the hip flexors. You're letting all that relax in your back. And you're letting that open in a gentle, supported way. And then you have an option to bring the arms long overhead or even bent, you know, more this diamond shape. And finding a way to bring the arms up higher, whether they're touching the floor or the hands are hovering. So we had a room full of people and said, bring your arms up in the air and see if you could go straight up from the rest of the body. A lot of people can't, so those people, their hands would be hovering, and that's okay. But it gives the greatest opportunity for gravity to help that open. And you could observe that in yourself. Even if your hands are connecting, you might feel a different connection on one hand where the knuckles or tops of the hands or wrists are maybe touching. And just give it a little time. Let your face relax. Slow that breath. It doesn't have to be a certain timing, but it's just expansive for you on the inhale. For me, that's often maybe 4 or 5 counts, and you get to decide how long those counts are. And then you exhale maybe a little longer. And then go ahead and bring the arms forward and bring your feet in. And just take the arms a little bit wider. And we'll let the knees gently go side to side. And you could either stay here with the knees slowly going side to side, or you could add this element of lengthening out the top leg. I think of it like the can-can, and bringing the foot back in and going the other way. Hitting the cabinet, I'm going to turn. And the idea of yoga for scattered minds isn't that it's never going to be scattered while you're doing yoga. In fact, the yoga people, the people in India that started, they call it the monkey mind, because what do monkeys do in a cage? You know, they're like, well, sometimes, okay, I would say, what do monkeys do in the real world? I guess not in a cage. Sometimes they're still in the cage. But we think of monkeys just, you know, all over the place, you know. So they're saying everyone has a monkey mind. And if you have ADHD, you have an extra scattered mind. I don't really want to think of that I have a monkey mind, but I have a scattered mind. So it's gonna go ahead and bring the legs in the air. It's gonna move around. It's gonna have a lot of things go through, you know, a lot of thoughts. And the idea is that yoga is the art of quieting the mind. It doesn't mean completely. It doesn't mean forever. It's just learning. It's just exercising that tool, learning that way to observe, oh, my mind's doing this right now. And then deciding if you want to quiet it. That's my opinion. You don't always have to quiet it, but deciding if you want to quiet it or not. So go ahead and choose an inversion. There's different kinds of inversions. Usually it's heart higher than the head. But here, legs in the air, it's kind of a subtle inversion. Heart's not higher, but the feet are higher. So you could be here. If you do have a block, and I know I promised I wasn't going to use a prop, you could place a block or a book or something right there under your low back. You could do Happy Baby, knees out wider, you know, hands at the feet. And it doesn't have to be a still Happy Baby. No one tells a baby, you know, like, oh, you know, just do exactly this. They get to decide what they do, whether they move their feet, whether they hold around their feet, above their feet, their ankles. But just give yourself a little time. I just realized I forgot to move the camera in closer, but you're probably good. I'll move it in a little closer. Just give yourself an inversion, whether it's with movement or being still for a minute. And give yourself a little time there. And then whenever you feel ready, go ahead and we'll do one more twist. I'm moving my props now. You can see all my props there. And I'm trying to make this, I didn't make it perfect. I like it to like look perfect to you. So I got to let go of that, don't I? So that's what you're supposed to also learn in yoga, is how to let go of a thought. So my thought was, I got to make this look perfect so that's, that line's even all the way across. But I don't. And that's another thing I like doing. When I'm teaching yoga, I'm not doing it as much. But when I'm in a yoga class, even just noticing the conversation that's going on in my mind, like, why is she having us hold this so long? Or, oh, I was late. I got to talk to this person after. I got to apologize. What am I going to say to her? All those things that go on through your mind, they're not just the repeat things that we think every day. They're the things that come up because we're judging or whatever, or evaluating or whatever. Anyway, I swear I could go on and on about this forever, but that's okay. Hopefully it's okay with you. If not, you might need to find another yoga teacher. But let's go ahead and do a supine twist here. Left leg long, right leg in the air, right arm is going to be out wide, and then let that leg cross the body, however that works for you. Just release in there in the hip. And then go ahead and bring that to center. Other leg in the air, other leg out long, arm out wide, and bring that leg across the body. And then let yourself relax with it here. And then bring that back to center. And then Shavasana, have you seen those shirts? I'm only here for the Shavasana. It tends to be a lot of people's favorite because it's a time that you just don't do anything but lay down. And your feet can be on the floor. They could be elevated a little bit, at the edge of a couch, or you can move your mat up to the wall, the legs up the wall. Just do them straight out today. But the idea is your body is still, and you're trying to let the thoughts be still. So again, a little practice of doing that. But I don't know if anybody in a class ever has their mind be completely still. So don't feel bad if you do have thoughts that come up, or if you notice, oh gosh, I was just thinking about all this other stuff. No worries. It doesn't mean you're bad at yoga. It doesn't mean I can't do this. It means you are doing this. That's what it means. So it's just a practice. It's just noticing that, because then it's really helpful during the week. And that could be another class I could talk about. But let's go ahead and just settle in here. Let your body relax. If you find it's not relaxed, you could add a little variation if you want in your body, but eventually you need to be still with it. So if it's as good as it gets, just let yourself close your eyes if you want to do that. Some people put something over their eyes. Having it be dark is helpful for relaxing. And just notice that rise and fall. Body lifting and lowering with the breath. And if you want to think of the breath as ocean breath, I often think of being at the beach. And as you breathe in, the upper body expanding is like that wave just rising up, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the exhale is that wave crashing, and the water just expands out, and dissipates in the sand. So you could visualize that if you'd like, or anything else that helps you relax here. That expands, that rise and fall, the wave, and crashing on the sand, getting kind of smoother, 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 until it's all gone. very gradually, just add something subtle. It could be like a tiny bit of movement in your hands or your feet. You can stay with that as little or as long as you like. And notice what your body welcomes, or if it's resisting, if you need to be still longer. If you're just saying, no, why are we stopping? Ignore me, just stay there. That's fine too. You're gonna add any movement that you need. And then turn to the side if you're comfortable on your side. You can pause with it here a little bit. If you got a pillow nearby, you can put one under your head or between the knees. If you're like me, I sleep with like 5 pillows. And eventually you can come on up and add any more movement you might need. And just notice how you feel. It just gives you, a little pause from your day. And yoga doesn't have to be doing stretches or movements on your mat. It could be going for a hike and just getting into a different pattern of breathing, just relaxing, just letting go. In nature, going and sitting, watching, like if you have a beach or even a lake or a river or something, the sound of the water, those kinds of things can be relaxing. They're meditative because we just get into that more calming, relaxed state. It can be a lot of things. So don't feel like this is the only way I can do this, that I can practice this. It's just letting go. And I teach classes in a couple gyms, and a lot of times I'm trying to get things done at home and stuff, and I look forward to going there because it's just that break. And I think I'm really glad I have that today. Although sometimes I think, I got to get this done before then. But it is really nice, whether it's a formal class and some are an hour. At yoga studios, they could be an hour and a half long. Maybe you need that big of a break. Maybe you only have 10 or 15 minutes and you just do part of a video, or you just lay down and do one of the things that you remember today because it felt really good. So anyway, that's it. I'm sure I could think of more to say, but that'll be it for today. So thanks so much for staying with me and learning a little bit more about how yoga can be calming for a scattered mind. Bye.